Kathleen Lindsay, and I live in Clayton, New Jersey. But today you can call me Miss Cat. Can you say Miss Cat?
Miss Cat.
Miss Cat. How do you do? I'm an author. I've been an author for 21 years. And I've written 9 books. So I'm pretty active with writing. Now, the book that I'm going to read to you today is called Wake Up Granny, It's Time to Go to School. Now, when I was in the 1st grade, I took my grandmother to school for show and tell. She was so funny. She did a lot of crazy things. But boys and girls, let me tell you, she never went to school in her life. She didn't know how old she was because she didn't have a birth certificate. You know, when you're born, you get a birth certificate, your name, where you were born, you know, a little bit about you. And you keep it for the rest of your life, but she didn't have one, so we never knew how old she was. So in my story, Wake Up Granny, It's Time to Go to School, you're going to find out a lot about my grandmother. Now stand up. This little girl is my granddaughter. Her name is, what is your name? Say, my name is? Tell them. My name is? Ava. Ava. Now she is the main character in the story. Ava. And all the names that you hear in this story are my grandchildren's names. I decided to do something a little bit different. Okay, sit down, Ava. Thank you. Okay. You ready for the story?
Yes.
All right. The dedication of my book, it says, in loving memory of my grandmother, Annie Elizabeth Williams, for our youngest grand and great children, Ava, Nathan, Ariana, Aaliyah, Jordan, David III, Sarah, and Carter. Every week, our teacher, Miss Lewis, chooses one student to invite their grandparents to visit our classroom. Some of your grandparents are from faraway countries. It would be fun learning what school was like for them, and perhaps they could share a tasty snack, she suggested. Here's the teacher, Miss Lewis. Here she is. Carter was the first to raise his hand. My grandma is from Portugal. She can share a special snack called malasadas. I call them doughboys, he said excitedly. And there's all the children raising their hands. They want their grandparents to come to school. David told the class that his grandmama came from a beautiful island called St. Thomas, and she makes the best coconut tarts and sells them at the great marketplace. Jamal started beating softly on his desk, making a sound like a drum. My grandfather is a drum maker from Africa. He learned to make drums in his village school a long time ago. He can teach us many sounds on many drums. Ariana's grandmother is a Native American who learned to play the flute in her school. She can make us yummy corn cakes with honey. Suddenly, Aaliyah jumped up, raising her hand high into the air. My grandma loves making quilts and tells stories. She lives in New Jersey, and she makes the best sweet potato pies ever. After everyone had a turn talking about bringing their grandparents to school, it was my turn. I raised my hand. My granny is really funny, Miss Lewis, and we do almost everything together. That's great, Ava, Miss Lewis replied, handing me a note to take home. It read, Dear grandparents, you are invited to visit Great Day Elementary School on Friday. We would love to learn what school was like when you were a child. You may bring a special snack to share with us. Please sign your name below, and I will contact you. And this is Ava raising her hand high into the air. Yes, we do everything together, she says. Let's sign it together, Granny, I said anxiously. Granny thought for a moment, then she placed her hand on top of mine, and we began to write. Wait, Granny hesitated. I must not forget my letter X. Excuse me? We laughed as she added the X beside her name. Granny, it seems like Friday will never come, I said impatiently. Only one more day, she replied, and we'll be on our way to your school. And this is the teacher handing Ava the note to take home. The next morning, I woke up early and ran into Granny's bedroom. Wake up, Granny, it's time to go to school, I shouted. Not today, Ava. I'm very tired. My head hurts, my legs are stiff, and my back is out of whack. Oh me, oh my. Maybe I'll go another day, she sighed. But Granny, all the children are waiting for you to come and bring your special snack. Please get up, Granny, I begged her. All right, Ava, go fetch my walking stick. Can't go nowhere without my walking stick, she mumbled. Here she is on the side of the bed. Okay. Oh, Granny, I shouted, you forgot to make a snack. We can't go to school without a snack. Granny smiled and looked at me with wide eyes. Child, the snack is all packed up and ready to go. What is it, Granny? I asked. Oh, it's a surprise, child. She laughed. I wondered. Now, sometimes Granny's special snacks can be a little strange. Here she is saying, wake up, Granny. Okay. Oh, no, she's asking about the snack. I'm sorry, about the snack. Granny liked to walk slow. Every now and then she would have to rest. She whistled at birds. She barked at dogs. She directed traffic. She talked to almost everyone passing her by. We have to walk together, she said, or we'll be late for school. Look, Granny, see the sign? It says, welcome to Great Day Elementary School. We're finally here. Good morning, Granny Annie. You must be tired from your long walk, Miss Lewis said with a cheerful smile. Sure am, Granny grunted and sprang to my teacher's chair with relief. Oh, my aching back, she groaned. She's sitting in a teacher's chair with her feet up.
Nope.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Teacher, is it snack time yet? I'm a bit hungry, you know, Granny hinted. It sure is, Granny, Miss Lewis replied. Suddenly all the children gathered around Granny as she pulled the snacks from her basket. What is it, Granny Annie? They asked. Surprise, Granny shouted. It's my famous leftover squash and liver brownies. Yeah. The children backed away one by one, and they politely said, no, thank you, Granny. We're not hungry yet. So Granny ate all the snacks all by herself and gave a loud burp. Pardon me, she snickered. Children, it's time for math, Miss Lewis announced as Granny spied our special jar that was always filled with yummy treats. Wow, marshmallows, soft white marshmallows. We can use these for counting, Granny suggested. Everyone began to count out loud as Granny made those marshmallows magically disappear one by one. She loved hearing us add and subtract. She thought math was so much fun. Her jaws were so packed so tight with marshmallows that she looked like Mr. Wiggles, our classroom hamster. You looking, Ava? Oh, you know this story. Okay. Spelling is my favorite subject, and Miss Lewis could call and before Miss Lewis could call out the spelling words for our test, Granny handed her a giant magnifying glass. I wouldn't want you to read those spelling words wrong, Granny snickered. Then everyone, even Miss Lewis, started laughing because Granny was so funny. After the test, Granny gave out gold stars to everyone. Wait, Miss Lewis said, I must grade the test first. Here she is, giving out stickers to everybody. And the tests weren't even corrected yet. Is it lunchtime yet? Granny asked as she sniffed the air. Not until the lunch bell rings, I whispered. Suddenly, we heard a strange noise that sounded like bling, bling, bling. It was Granny pretending to sound like the lunch bell. Good try, Granny. That was clever, Miss Lewis laughed. I'm a real smarty pants, Granny chuckled. Finally, the lunch bell rang and Granny dashed to the reading circle to collect our books. Line up, kids, it's time for lunch, she announced. Then Miss Lewis handed Granny the lunch tickets to hand out. Uh-oh. Come and get your tickets, kids, Granny called loudly. Suddenly, the boys began to stampede across the room. Stop, stop, Granny yelled. Let the girls go first. Poor Miss Lewis just walked down the hall, holding her head, while Granny marched the kids off down the hall into the cafeteria. Here she is, taking all the kids to the cafeteria. Granny wanted to help in the kitchen, and with a big burst of energy, she grabbed a large pot of noodle doodle soup and ladled out every child a bowl full. She tossed peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over her head and juggled cartons of milk high into the air. Catch, kids, she shouted. For dessert, Granny diced sour pickles on top of our chocolate pudding. Ugh. She wiped faces squeaky clean, up one aisle and down the other, while the lunch ladies looked on in amazement. During recess, something weird happened. Granny got a bigger burst of energy. She played baseball with the boys and hit a grand slam home run, sliding into home plate. Safe, she yelled. When it came to basketball, slam dunking was a cinch. With the girls, she hopscotched backwards and was the fastest double Dutch jumper ever. Granny pulled everybody across the line in a game of tug of war. Go, Granny, go, all the children on the playground said. I love this school, Granny kept saying. For art class, Granny handed out some colored paper, scissors, and crayons, teaching us how to make hand turkeys. You know what hand turkeys are. Then Jordan said, it's springtime, and we should make something different. Granny thought for a moment. Then she turned those turkeys into rabbits with a snip, snip, snip of the scissors. Wow, the children gasped. Here she is, turning those turkeys into rabbits. Bunnies, yeah. Finally, it was Granny's turn to tell what school was like when she was a child. Granny smiled and looked around the quiet room. A long time ago, when I was a youngster like you, I never learned to read or write, she said sadly. Wow, you mean you never learned to spell your name? Ariana asked. Not a lick, Granny assured her. I used an X to spell my name. Then Granny and I walked to the chalkboard, and together, with her hand on top of mine, we wrote her name. She placed that big X beside it. Everyone looked surprised, and Sarah asked if she was too old to learn. Absolutely not, Miss Lewis replied. You're never too old to go to school. Suddenly, I had an idea. I asked Miss Lewis if Granny could be our classroom helper for the rest of the year. Miss Lewis replied, this is an excellent idea. Granny can teach us many things, too. Each one, each one. Then everyone began to clap and cheer. Granny was so happy she grabbed her walking stick and joyfully pranced around the room and down the hallway shouting, "Whippity-doo, whippity-doo, Granny is finally going to school." And here she is. She's so happy. She's going to go to school for the rest of the year. Every morning, I tiptoe into Granny's bedroom, waking her up cheerfully with the words she loves to hear. What are those words? "Wake up, Granny. It's time to go to school." And that is the end of my story. And it's a little bit about, here's my grandmother. She was an old lady like me. Oh, okay. My grandmother. And a little bit about her. Granny, as she was called, had no birth certificate, so there was no record of her age. She never went to school to learn to read or write, but always signed her name with an X. "I'm too old to learn," she would say. When I was in the first grade, I took my old granny to school for show and tell, and she was hilariously funny. My story, "Wake Up, Granny, It's Time to Go to School," will tickle your tummy with laughter, with anticipation of what humor Granny will display next. And on the back of my book, it's a little bit about the author, okay, where I live. Thank you for coming today and listening to my story. I hope you had as much fun as I had sharing with you. Okay? Yeah. What's my name again?
Miss Cat.
Miss Cat, yes. So you have a wonderful day and try to stay warm out there, all right? Okay.